This is Rebecca, the Steampunk Planner, and today we are visiting the Ballad of Tam Lin. This is a natural watercolor set created by Mona from Mona's Fine Art Supply. She is a local artist that has a store for artists, which there aren't many here in Lexington, and I appreciate it. I'm going to be using my Benichi brush, and we're going to start sampling these out for you. Got too many S's right in a row there and got stumped. So anyway, I love the names of this set, and all of these colors are beautiful. You're going to hear me say so many times, I love this, I love this, I love this, because I do. This Curdle Green is beautiful. By the way, I'm using one of the stamps here for all of the sampling and the Ranger Distressed Black Soot Archive ink. And by the way, the stamps are a Coffee Monster set. And I'm not sure, I don't think you're able to get a hold of them right now. She only does them on special occasions when she is launching others. So back to these colors. So Curdle Green was very sheer and is a matte color. Golden Hair is a sheer color, but it still has a great deal of opacity, and you can build this color up. Oh, it's just amazing. It does have a shimmer. So half the colors have shimmer, half the colors are matte. Now I just wrote these out in a line. I did not follow 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see here they're not lined up. Now, Haunted Wood. This was a surprise to me because it is in the matte color part of the palette, but it has almost like a dark taupe, almost like a sepia, and a copperish type of, or bronze type, that's the word, bronze type of look to it. It just, my eyes were popping out of my head when I was playing with this one. Ah, love it. And yes, I have my coffee here, so you're going to hear me periodically taking a break to get a sip. Elven Gray. This is part of the shimmers. And it is an amazing, it looks like it's a liquid silver, but it is a beautiful blue, almost not quite periwinkle, but definitely an amazing silver blue. And it just, it's a great shadow color. That sounds weird, but it is. And I'll show you in my presentation later. Double Rose. Sorry guys, but this reminds me of my favorite lipstick I used to wear all of the time when I first met my husband. And not only is it matte and it's super opaque, but I cleaned my brush and went back into it with a little bit of water and it shears out beautifully. Let me grab a sip of coffee and let you see how it shears. It's just amazing. Oh, sorry. Happy People Coffee. And I love their Mocha Java. It's a great chocolate, hazelnut, and I mean, they just do an amazing job with where they get their coffee beans. There's nothing else added to it. Let's get back to the painting. Sorry. Fairy Queen. Now, Fairy Queen is part of the matte collection, but it does seem to have a bit of shimmer, and I don't have any problem with that. What's really, really amazing with this is how it lends itself towards being a brown taupe and a purple taupe. And if you know me, one of my favorite colors outside of green and purple is taupe. You can just look at my past videos on planning it. Taupe's always in there. Hollow's Eve is a great, great color. It is in the shimmer and it has a touch of silver to it, but it really works well. It looks like black soot or almost a deep graphite charcoal. Now, I do want to apologize. We have been taking care of Wednesday. He had a moment over the weekend where he had to go to the emergency vet, and he's still recuperating. He has checked in with his regular vet. He's doing well, but I forgot to turn the camera on when I put Tithe to Hell. Yeah, it wasn't because of the name, it's because I forgot. Tithe to Hell is a great rust. Beautiful. I use it and along with golden hair later and love it. It shears beautifully. And the colors, I'm just so amazed about these colors. White Steed. Perfect name for this color. It's not really a white. It's not really a cream. Have you ever seen a painted horse? The ones that are, they seem to look white, but they're not, and they have speckling on the backs and on their legs that make them look a little dirty. That's this color. That's this white, and it's just, it's like a taupe gray, white, cream. It's lovely. Yeah, did you think lovely was going to come out? So, Esk and Adder, and sorry I cut the name off, but it is Esk and Adder, and this is a perfect yellow sage. That's what I feel it is, and normally I lean towards sage and pine colors for doing any greenery in my work, so loving this color. I'm going to get another sip of coffee, and then we're going to show you how everything looks dry. So there's the Ballad of Tam Lin. Exquisite colors. And these will be showcased in my memory keeping planner for January. It's been a long time coming, almost the entire month, and I'm sorry for my delay. So I'm going to quickly just, as I paint here, give you a little bit of hints of what I've done, what I'm using, and why I've done things. So I'm using the Esk and Adder to do all of my greenery. So I'm doing the inside of the flower and then the stems. And then I am using or waiting a day before I go into the next layer. The reason I'm doing this is Tomoe River paper doesn't act like the normal cold press cotton paper that I use. What I mean by that is, yes, watercolor reactivates. Watercolor ink reactivates. But there are products out there that once it dries, it settles and it's dry and you can't move it. And on Tomoe River paper, that is not true. Ink tints. I did an example of that one last year and proved me wrong. So I'm letting these dry in between so that I don't have to deal with so much of the rippling while I'm working. And I can get a little bit of a blend without completely losing everything. It's always a trial and error. You're learning as you're going. And all paints are different, just like all papers are different. Now, I said earlier, Elven Gray is an excellent color for doing shadowing, and here it is. And what I said a moment ago about that rippling, yeah, to turn my brush around and pop that rippled so it went in instead of coming up so I can make sure it got painted. Sometimes you have to do that. You got to bully that paper so it lays back down. Now, I don't like using hair dryers to dry my paper or anything like that. You are definitely welcome to do that if that's something you want to do. I don't, because I want to make sure that if the paint is still wet, that the pressure of the air from the hair dryer does not move the paint. That's my goal. So I'm coming back in with each of the color, which is the Esk and Adder and Elven Gray, and I'm making sure areas aren't too white, but I'm also taking in and using some of those white areas as my highlights so I don't have to add it, and I'm using both by tapping them in to create texture. And that's literally what I'm doing. I'm gathering it and tapping it in. So with a clean, wet brush, I went in and just wet the area of this petal bud just so that I could get the paint to bloom a little bit over there so it's not so opaque, because I knew going into this small area it will lay down a little bit more opaque than I'm wanting. I am going to go ahead and use the golden hair to continue throughout putting in these petals. I did show you that I had a little bit of something, and I believe it was a Wednesday hair that showed up on my bristles. You can't avoid that. That's just going to happen. So right now what I'm doing is I am outlining each piece and then adding water, allowing the ripple to occur, take out some of the water. I love those round sponges. It's so easy. I can just roll right over and not interrupt anything. And then as they dry, I will go in and add a little bit more for depth and shadowing with its own color. And with a quick jump forward, I have most of the petals done. You can see I'm leaving in areas so that I have some highlights and some sheer aspects that I really don't want to fill in right now, because I know the next color is going to, as I work with it, areas are going to be filled in more than I really want them to be, so I'm leaving them open. That color that I'm going to use is that beautiful double rose. And I apologize greatly. The camera focused on my hand. Yeah, that's going to be an issue that I'm going to have. I think I need to back up the camera and zoom in more, but I still seem to have that issue of it on my hand more than anything else. So please forgive me on that one. I hope you can at least see in between what I am doing, which I am making sure that I have quite a bit of water for when I'm inside the rose, or the petals. Sorry, these aren't roses. It just came out because I'm using the color. But I'm making sure as I stated, the inside is sheer, but I want the outsides to have more depth in them, so it looks like they are on the bottom and they are in shadow. Often when I'm using watercolors, and even in digital painting, I love to layer its own color over itself to start my shadows. Because sometimes I don't want to bring in another color and lose the saturation or the style and energy that I'm going for. Sorry, another sip of coffee. And we're going to go ahead and jump forward again. So now that my hand is out of frame, you can see what I'm doing. Well, I guess I could only hope, Working on the small one, I thought I'd be more out of frame. But here you can see all of the detail and effect that I'm getting using the double rose. I think this is going to be another let's jump forward. All right, we can actually see the flower for the most part in what I'm doing. Again, I am using the color to outline and make sure I have my depth and shadows. And then I'm going to come in, water my brush down, not remove the color, but water, just tip the very tip of it into the water. And then that will blend out what's on my brush with what's already on the paper. I love the shadowing effect that I'm getting, especially with the ripples adding and helping me create the texture and movement that I want. And as I stated, remember I left some areas open so that I had shadowing and sheerness coming through, and that has worked out very well. I'm going to pop ahead one more time. This process with the double rose actually did take about an hour because I was having, I wanted to make sure I wasn't losing any of the texture or anything while working on this. I'm back again with the Elven Gray, and I'm using a little bit of Hollow's Eve to add some more depth there. Now with the leaves below. I am getting a lot more rippling because this area had not worked in very much. So I'm going to allow the ripple just to help me with these leaves. Using the golden hair to add in the color within. And then I will pop ahead with the Esk and Adder. And then probably go back. Actually, I know I will go back and I will use the Elven Gray and the Haunted Wood to finish the leaves. So as I use Haunted Wood to do all the shadows and vining, I want to mention Mona's Fine Art Supply. You can find her at monasartsupply.com. She does change out her palettes often, but I want to show you this is what my page looks like now that I've been using it. I thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this process and may look at trying some of Mona's art supplies yourself. See you in February.